Hi and welcome back to the Vile Vlog, the VV, with Mr. Criticulous. I'm going to be finishing off my chat about the Unfixed festival, at least as far as this sequence goes, because I think 3 videos of me is going to be quite enough. Before I start though, if there's anyone out there who's nipping up to IKEA this weekend, you might notice it's a bit dark in here. I've got quite a lot of those special stand lights that they have, lamps, and I haven't got any bulbs for them, so if you're nipping out that way, if you could get me some, I'll pay you back when you get in. Anyway, Unfixed Festival. I really want to finish off by talking a bit about both the positives and negatives of my experience. The negative I think I've talked about before, which is more to do with my own relationship to the experience itself. I think that might be because it was in the CCA and I could nip off and have a cup of tea in my office every 5 minutes, meaning I wasn't perhaps engaging as effectively with the people who were in the audience, people who were there, and the conversations that were being had. So that's kind of my issue. A really positive thing is it's the first festival I've felt that has integrated 3 of the strands that I think are very important in Glasgow performance. That is the live art scene, the things coming out of the RCS, formerly known as the RSAMD, and that kind of tradition which is expanded theatre, if you like. A few people from there, FK Alexander for example, studied on the CPP course. Then you have the music that's there. Paul himself is a musician, he's been in a few bands. I think he's got an album coming out actually. Can you get it over, Paul, because I want to play it. That stuff as well. There was a lot of stuff with visual art, or rather the visual art tradition, which has its own sound art bit to it. So these 3 strands, the music, the performance theatre, and performance visual art, they were all present in some way, which was great, because I don't think that's really happened before. A lot of the festivals that we see in Glasgow tend to be one or the other, and there's a division. So hopefully Unfixed, when it gets loads of money off of Creative Scotland, will develop that and bring these groups together. The other thing that's exciting is that there was also a very clear political engagement, an ecological political engagement. People were thinking and talking. For example, the event I was expecting Joe Reid to be rocking out on his guitar, he was actually talking about, or rather creating a space that breaks down the old fourth wall, and there was a herb bed. It was a little bit hippie-ish for me, to be honest. They were talking about how I like the cup of tea and all that, and I like something a bit more hardcore, but it's really, really important. The idea that we go to an event and it's not about being told some stuff, it's about engaging in a conversation. That is exciting. That really is. And I like hearing Joe play guitar, so there's that too. But the challenges I feel with it, actually artistically, is thinking about how, what's the best way to put this? How do we address something like Buto, which comes from a very specific tradition, and what do we pick up from it? And how do we move that forward? I think there's almost a fetishisation of certain aspects of the Buto character, the white face, for example, or the semi-nudity, or the slightly improvised movement. For example, there was a wonderful bit inside one of the pieces where somebody threw a chain around their neck as if it was a feather boa, this kind of fashion as enchainment imagery. Really great, captivity by fashion, trying to be glam but actually being chained up. But there seems to be a lot of playing around the edges of that. There's a sense of, it's like improvised music, I guess. They're looking for something and then they find it and they run with it for a bit and then move into something else. It's interesting to think about the boundaries of performance and rehearsal and what that all means. What is improvisation? How do we come to an event expecting something to be communicated, yet actually the artist is trying to find something themselves to communicate, trying to get to something. All of which is exciting, but can be a challenge for the critic who's obsessed with putting star ratings on everything, obviously. I had a really great time at Unfixed. I felt very comfortable there. I think there were some challenges in terms of volume, but I quite like a bit of loud noise. And certainly there were some emotional and philosophical challenges, which is all to the good. I think picking up on the idea of Scottish Buto and thinking where that might go isn't really in the spirit of what the event was about. It's worth mentioning and just thinking where we go with it. Well, where other people go. I'm saying we as if I'm going to be doing a bit of Buto later on. But more interestingly is the very, very explicit connection it makes between art and content. What's being said? What is it about? How do we think about ourselves? And what is the framework we put it in? I was made to think of some of the more exciting works of Arica when they've been really successful, when they've presented us with a set of ideas that overlap or interconnect. For example, when they started looking at the ballroom scene in America and how queer identity, in that case the idea of authenticity, is a challenging thing. And the idea that we can actually use art as something to think about ideas in, that it's a public discussion, I'm really keen on that stuff. I'm really keen on it. Thumbs up for Unfixed. Could you even see my thumb there? I'm going to have to check this and see what's going on.